Hello folks. So we continue with the Ketu Rahu series. Today we will discuss Rahu and Ketu in the 1-7 angles of the chart. And I meant to mention this earlier. In fact, I think I did in one of the videos, but I'll mention it again. These positions can be seen from both the moon and the Lagna. It seems to me that people that are watching are already familiar with where their moon is situated, where the Lagna is situated. And this is of course a sidereal system, not the Western, not the tropical. So if you don't know, look at my chart calculator on my website to determine where your Rahu and Ketu are positioned from the moon and from the ascendant. Yeah, so let's get started. Now, Ketu in the first house. Ketu in the first house, similar to Rahu in the first house, can give a very magnetic personality. With Ketu in the first house, this can mean you're mixed race or culture also. You can also be the eldest child, right? Because Ketu gets associated with Ganesha, who was the eldest, is considered to be the firstborn, right? Ketu in the first house, I've always seen gives fiercely independent people. And if it's not obvious, you are fiercely independent from inside, because we say with the first house placement of Ketu, you would have traveled a long way during rebirths, accounting for this karmic balance. Ketu in the first can make you shy, it can make you aloof. So it's very important to see where Lagna Lord is. How is Lagna Lord functioning? Is it functioning well? And for that matter, you have to look at the Dharma Trikona, which is a 159 angle, to see how this will manifest. Key words for Ketu are scatter, as I mentioned. Wherever Ketu sits, it scatters. The energies get scattered. And also dissolve. Ketu is known as what's called the Chidrakaraka, which means it creates holes wherever it's situated, wherever it's placed. So in the first house, what does that mean? It will mean that it will want to extinguish your identity in some way. So here you will need to work on building a firm and secure identity. Meaning what? Meaning more self-confidence, willpower. And this is a carry forward debt from previous lives. If you succeed in this, the karmic balance gets restored. And whether you will succeed or not, the strength of the sun in your chart will be very helpful. So we have to see that. A badly placed sun means there's lack of confidence, there's lack of vitality. Ketu in the first house makes you very intelligent. You could say brilliant. You'll have lightning fast ability to grasp new concepts. Sometimes with this placement, you can see people that have a knack of knowing everything. And they can sometimes come across as being quite like preachy. Like gives a preachy disposition. Especially if Jupiter's aspecting. But it can make you a good teacher. Despite this, the propensity to get distracted is enormous if you have Ketu in the first house. You can often feel that you've been there, done that. Now let's move on to the next thing. And I've seen this. People tend to be like very kind of like jumping from one thing to the other. They tend to be quite restless. This tendency tends to be more pronounced if the Ketu is in an air sign. Yeah. Ketu in the first house can give a slender, graceful silhouette with dreamy eyes, especially if it's situated in a water sign. You can be short though, on the short side, unless the Ketu gets the aspect of Jupiter. And again, see Lagna Lord also. because the Lagna Lord's placement will highly determine how Ketu will function. This placement can also give a low appetite and a preference for peculiar foods. You can have strange tastes. So like maybe you grew up in England, but you like to eat like spiced plantains or something like that. Like just strange. So very different from your environment. Ketu in the first house can give a very penetrating insight into others' minds and can give you intuitive and even psychic powers. Again, here you need to see the position of moon to how that will play out, as well as the fourth house, right? Because Ketu may or may not be working in this way. Because it is easy for you to internalize your energies, this can help you develop along spiritual lines. In fact, the real transformation in your life will happen in your 40s, when the nodes mature. With Ketu in the first, your DNA is connected to your mother's side more than your father's side. This can also apply if Lagna Lord is with Ketu, or even Moon is with Ketu, so Ketu Moon conjunction. It can mean a reincarnation from the mother side of the family. Balancing the first and the seventh house is very important. Ketu in the first, people tend to mold themselves to what their partner wants to be, especially earlier in your life, like your 20s and 30s even to some extent. And they don't allow their own personality to develop in this way. And so in this way, the transformation that happens to them in their 40s can be shocking to their partners. Spiritual transformation is inevitable with this placement. But again, more likely later in life when Ketu is activated either by Dasha or maturity, which is 48 to 52, 53. With this placement, you can overly rely on emotions, unless you have a strong Mercury. Yeah. It can make you sentimental, also. Especially if Ketu is in a water sign. There's a doubting nature here too, especially if Moon or Mercury are impacting Ketu. It can give you an overactive imagination, and sometimes this creates paranoia, where you see things or imagine scenarios that don't actually exist. Right? You can be very adamant about your beliefs and opinions, and you rarely change your convictions, in fact. You can have a fear of being manipulated by others, and this will create a lack of trust. This will create a lack of trust in others. This tends to be paramount with this placement, as well as if you have Sun or Moon with Ketu, like Sun conjunct Ketu, Moon conjunct Ketu. Trust becomes an issue. You do tend to be quite generous, though, towards your loved ones with Ketu in the first house. And in fact, if you believe someone to be a loyal friend, you will go out of your way for them. This placement brings a lot of achievements, especially if Sun and Jupiter are well placed too. It can also give you the ability to connect with other worldly realms, even while staying in the real world, the material world. Yeah. This Ketu placement can give you abundant energy, sort of like having Mars in the first house in that way. And this energy can go towards spiritual pursuits, especially later in life during the Ketu years, which is again between 48 to 52, 53, that zone there, yeah, 5-6 years. Depending on which house is stronger, the first or the seventh, you have to guard against being too independent or being too dependent on others. Right? So it can create one extreme or the other. So again, a balancing is required, as it is with all nodal positions. And similar to Rahu in the first, you're not very inclined toward marriage. Yeah. So that brings us to Rahu in the seventh. Rahu in the seventh can make you a very passionate person, Also, your sexual nature can be very strong. In fact, you may have you may go through a lot of infatuations in your life, especially if Rahu is activated by Dasha, with Rahu in the 7th house. There can be a lack of compromise in relationships because you tend to be fiercely independent. You can often be attracted to people who are very different from your own background. There could be differences in age. There could be differences in social background, class, status, education, religion, culture, language, nationality, anything, really. This can also bring people of lower class into your life. Yeah. But being with someone who is different from you will actually benefit you. Yeah. Especially if you're looking for a partner when you're under 48. Yeah. 7th house typically represents a time in life when one establishes oneself, when you create a family, when you create a sense of permanence. It's a Kendra house, it's a foundational house. So all significations of the 7th house get highlighted. Passion, love, desire, soulmate, partnership, committed relationships, but also your public image. Right? Also business dealings. Travel is also seen from the 7th house to some extent. And so are enemies. Known enemies. Yeah, business partners. With this placement though, it can be very difficult to find a suitable partner. It will cause confusion in the partnership area of life. There can be deception and manipulation from others. This can apply to business partners too, making it difficult to find someone trustworthy to work with. Watch for unethical or immoral behavior, as this could taint your reputation also. And this will happen very quickly with Rahu in the 7th. Here you can also be attracted to partners that are not good for you. Yeah. It is, however, good, as I mentioned earlier, whether we're talking about a marriage partner or a business partner, it is good for you if they have a foreignness to them. This will manage some of that erratic Rahu energy, which tends to be always looking for the perfect match. Right? Nothing is good enough. It can also bring a lot of gains from the partner if this is a well-placed Rahu. This Rahu placement can also make the partner dominating and argumentative. Rahu in the 7th can mean the partner is more mature though than you are. Yeah. It can also mean that luck improves after marriage. So depending on the dignity, again, of Rahu, especially if it's getting a Jupiter aspect, then certainly you can expect that. But with nodal axis, there comes an imbalance, depending on which way you go. Right, as usual. This placement can also lead to separations, breakups, misunderstandings. Rahu in the 7th can also very easily bring extramarital affairs. But again, you have to see the Dharma Trikona angle in your chart to see what's going on there, whether you're inclined that way or not. So if your tendency is to be honest and forthright, just generally, this Rahu won't cause these issues. But before your late 40s, you may not be attracted to partners that are good for you. With this placement, it can be difficult to find a suitable partner, as I mentioned, because it causes confusion. Yeah, a sense of balance is required with relationships. And it could be any kind of relationship. Committed, non-committed, affairs. It's a classic placement of making yourself, like building yourself to be someone you're not, just to please the other person. Like, I'm the ideal mate, because I know that this is what you're looking for. And I will become that. And then after the marriage, or after the relationship is somehow like becomes official, like you move in together, then the important truths will come out. This is that placement. If Rahu is getting activated and you are going through health issues, check for like reproductive issues could also come up with this placement. And this can be especially problematic if you are in a Rahu dasha and Rahu is afflicted by a malefic, right? Sitting with a malefic. Issues related to your abdomen can also be there, especially during the Rahu phases. But with a well-placed Rahu in the 7th, it can give you a very good social standing, a very good social status. You have to check Venus's condition also, right, to confirm this. Good careers can include careers connected to counseling, managerial jobs. Could be a good psychologist. Any Venetian career where you're in the public eye can be good. It's a placement where you're likely to do your own thing, especially after midlife. Yeah. So, that's all for now, folks. If you like the video, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to subscribe and like and comment and share.